Welcome to the Ride of My Life podcast, the Inner Peace Pilgrimage. I'm Caroline Rena, and here, let the ride inside adventure begin. I will share what it's like on my own inner peace journey, and through what I learn and become aware of, provide insight to your journey as well. Hey everyone, I'm Caroline Rena from the Ride of My Life podcast, and this is my dear friend, Valerie Montgomery. We lost the arm. I've been staying with Valerie at her home in Colorado Springs for the last almost 11 weeks, about 10 and a half weeks. And what a ride this has been on this inner peace pilgrimage. I think that it was the perfect invitation, even though as projectors we don't really need to be invited by another projector. I think that's the case, but
we're allowed to invite each other.
We're allowed to.
We're supposed to wait for the invitation
with other people.
All the other types.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, that's human design, and we're going to bounce back and forth between human design and like normal Ride of My Life stuff. So this should be interesting as she fades in and out, and she's gone. It's magic. I'm not doing that. What is this? I don't understand. Anyway, this is part of the fun. So I've been here digging deep. Valerie is a licensed professional counselor, so her background and her experience and her personal knowledge and the things that she's learned throughout her life has really helped me go through this journey while I've been here. And we started out, and we've shared, we kind of helped each other, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about, because when I first got here, we did a video on two self-projected projectors in human design trying to find a parking space and figuring out what the best course of action was, and I was like, okay, this should be fun. Yeah. So now we're kind of reminiscing and reflecting on all of the things that we've learned and come to understand about ourselves, about each other, about human design, about life, about love, whatever. I don't know. This is a free-for-all, so I have no idea what this is going to end up looking like, but where do you want to start?
I think what's good for everyone to know is that we didn't really know each other. We met through a mutual human design projector, and then you interviewed me.
Shout out to Andrea Goodsaid.
Yeah.
And then, she had been telling me about Valerie, so I started watching videos about Valerie and then suggested that I reach out to her. And then I thought Valerie would be a good interview from my season 2 interviews with people. And so I did. And I don't know, I think you followed me, kind of watching me a little bit. Somewhere along the way,
while you were interviewing me, you had asked.
This is before. Oh, go ahead.
You had asked me in advance, like you wanted to, what I consider, demonstrate something of my work, and so then I thought, let's see if she can demonstrate part of one of my courses, which is process poetry.
So before you get into that, what was your draw? Because this is prior to us even interviewing. So when Andrea kind of got us thinking about each other, what was your draw to me?
You wanted to interview me.
That was the only thing. You weren't watching me at all.
No.
I thought you said you were. Okay, never mind. So
I listened to a couple of your early podcasts about trying to find a vehicle and how to outfit it. And, I listened to a little bit of it, but it wasn't until I've been trying to branch out of the counseling office, right? Or I've been branching out of the counseling office in the second business that I've been working on developing. And so...
Okay, so now let's get back
to so there's when you wanted to interview me, and then we had that pre-interview conversation, and I was like, this could be really cool. And then you made me think, how could you demonstrate something? And that's when I decided, you can demonstrate part of my process poetry course, which you did, and then you guys can watch the interview to see what happened.
That's episode 11 in season 2, is that correct?
Yes.
I think so, yes.
And so that was and I was like, oh my gosh, because we do have a lot in common. We have a lot that's different, because I want to say human design is the science of differentiation. But we're both self-projected projectors. We're about the same age. We have a fourth line in common. And
To explain what a fourth line
the
is.
fourth line is like a natural pigtail connection to people. So the people that are going to be right or correct for us are going to be people that are introduced to us through our network. It's not like we're going to go off grid and find people who don't know us at all or know some of our connections.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, I had to do not disturb my phone. Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to ask you if you say anything in human design, because it's not all human design people watching, so just in case. But yeah, and it's really interesting how we kind of connected, from that interview. I mean, my intention with the interviews, all of the interviews, was to experience how the other person did their work and how they help people, and wanted to kind of show it on camera, on video, what that looked like. And even with the opportunity that I had to walk through it, and if I broke down, that was okay too. And having somebody like Valerie to support that was huge, and that was a huge breakthrough for me when we did the process poetry. So you got to experience, especially if you're a writer, you need to experience this process poetry. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying,
Yeah, and I think what we decided at the beginning was to create a container of safety so we could each work on things that came up because of the mirror of each other.
While I'm here?
While you were here. And then we also are both in the healing space with different backgrounds and different capacities and different, missions and visions and callings. But we had a lot in common. We both like to take photographs. We both like to collect rocks. We both like to do, like spiritual quests of sorts.
Oracles.
So it's been really cool. And,
Yeah.
I have a Christian background. You have a Jewish background. So we've had some really cool experience based on our shared history, and then we've also I've gotten to experience what it's like to have a self-projected projector around, and I have a lot more compassion for people who are around me.
And it was really interesting because, we're never really taught how to be in relationship with people. We kind of have to figure that out on our own as we're healing. At least that's what I've discovered.
So can I say what a self-projected projector is?
Oh, right. I should have asked
Well,
that.
a self-projected projector is someone who comes to their decisions through talking. And we talk things out. And it's not like the people who are listening need to fix it or have ideas or tell us what to do, because that impedes our process. Our process is to hear what feels true for us.
And to come to a decision based off of what we're saying.
I mean, I don't ever put that out as an intention. I think it's to uncover more and more about who I am.
Oh, okay, because that's mine. I always figure things out.
Oh, that's your defined head.
Right.
So I don't.
So that's
so
another
we
thing.
have 3 defined centers in common, which is the G, the throat, and the ajna. But I have an undefined head. She has a defined head. So we had fun with that as well.
Yeah. So like the defined head for me is like, have you ever seen the emoji with the head exploding? That's like, if you're not in your center, that's what a defined head feels like a lot, because I'm constantly trying to discover new things and piece things together and look things up, and
Lots of information.
where the undefined head don't care about all that information.
Well, for
and then we're
me-
like,
For me, it
try-
shows up as, I don't need to know that.
Well, and that's interesting because the not self, this is what I'm thinking happens. The not self of Valerie's undefined head bashes up against the not self of my head, my defined head, and it's like she doesn't need to know that, but I need to say it or look it up, and I don't feel heard if she doesn't need to know it. So we had to kind of walk through.
Well, we came
some
up
of that
early. We came up with a solution. All you needed to hear was, I don't know.
and that worked. It was incredible.
And I was like, that's the key. Just because if my undefined head, the not self question is, am I trying to answer everybody else's questions? So she would ask a question and I would go off on all these like tangential pieces of information that I knew. And it wasn't helping her. She didn't feel heard. It was getting worse. Yeah. She was getting like I could see her coming at me.
Well, because my head was starting to get crowded with information I didn't feel like I was asking for, and then that's when the whole explosion thing happens. It's like, wait, stop, you're telling me things I don't know. I don't want to know that.
So throughout the time, if she asked a question, there was one time I was watching a special on television telling you about it, and you thought that I felt like you thought that I should have looked at it the way you would look at it. So you had this question about it that I would have never approached watching the same show with. And so you kept trying to get me to answer your question, and it wasn't part of my experience, the answer that I think you were looking for.
Well, and that's the interesting key, the word experience, because it seems like an undefined head, and I'm guessing this is something I'm learning in the moment right now, but it seems like an undefined head goes with the experience because there's nothing that it cares about really grasping onto or understanding. Where a defined head, it's not just about the experience, it's about the information as well as an experience, I guess. I mean, that's what it feels like to me.
Well,
so
I'm a unique individual.
Yeah.
Well, so I also have my own reasons and how I experience anything that I'm aware of or unaware of, actually, subconsciously. So it was, we came up against each other a lot, but we also supported each other when one of us was going to address something we'd never addressed in relationship before. Mm-hmm. We would stop and the other one would give support.
Mm-hmm. And that was interesting and challenging for me because, and there's a similarity here, but Valerie can speak for her own experiences. With my mother wound, I was never able to really get connected with women. And so this has been a very interesting thing because I've had roommates who were women before, and that didn't always work out so great, but I didn't know how to adjust myself, and they didn't understand me, and we both made the effort, even through the wound, for me to start to recognize, oh wow, there is support and love and companionship and all this stuff in relationship with another woman. And I'm like, oh God, I can do that. Yeah,
It was a transmutative experience.
Yeah.
And I think that, some of the things that I addressed would not have been able to be addressed on my own because we're really not meant to be doing work on our own. We're meant to have an attached other, which would be originally a loving, attuned, regulated mother and a father and a community, and so sometimes that gets, it's not available. And so it's really hard then to accept interdependent support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel now that that's what's happening. It's like, what were the words I used? It was, anxious.
Oh, so there's the insecure types of attachment, which are anxious, avoidant, ambivalent, and disorganized is both of those.
And then there was another one that would also begin with an A.
It's an anti-dependent.
I don't know. Anyway, but there were what it was like being in this space of either being, when you're anxious, you want to be in the relationship. The avoidant, it was avoidant. It wasn't, there was no other word when I read it, so it didn't, there's my mind doing its thing. So the avoidant is where I ended up, and in this process being here, I came to that interdependent space and recognize that now I can relate to Valerie in a different way than I've done with people in my life, male or female. And that's been the huge experience for me here, because, and let me tell you something, it wasn't a pretty picture in some cases when we were working through this stuff. I mean, here, I'll go through it. I've done it before. It's the tears, the snot, and the sweat. And it's like, blah, you know, and grief, a lot of grief. It was like, I went through like things, and Valerie would stand there and hold my space, and vice versa. And learning about each other and how we do things and learning how to support each other became that centered space for me. And you'd have to speak for yourself. It seems like you've gotten a different perspective.
I have another
on yours.
topic.
We'll finish this one and then we'll move on. This is the undefined head. Finish this topic.
Why?
Since we're on
I don't
a
want to.
podcast. Just finish this. So where are you feeling within that? And then we can move on to the next
I have
topic.
to tell you about the excitement of like connecting her to people I know.
Okay, we'll do that in a second. Just finish your input.
About what?
About what we're finishing. Do you feel more centered, more...
So I think the period of time that we've spent together will continue to unfold in its gravity and depth. And I think that you're leaving tomorrow. That's important to say. And so there's been, it's like this capsule of time. And, you know, it's almost like the spiral that unfolds gradually. It's going to continue to unfold over time. Yes, I can look in my journal. Yes, I can look in my writings and other places, or I know it's shifted some things for me, if that's what you
Yeah,
were looking for.
Well,
I don't know what you're looking for.
Sometimes people like to, I do, like to know about a result. You know, I mean, we walk through all this. Do you feel the same? Do you feel different? Do you feel like choking her sometimes? Do you feel, you know, how do you feel right now? Do you feel like you've experienced a shift? Do you feel...
That's what I just said.
Right. That's what I was getting at. So that's so you answer the question. It was just like, I want people to see that, you know, and it does take a relationship. You can do it by yourself. It's possible, but it's so much more profound when you're in relationship with somebody to walk through the healing process. And so
some of our trauma has involved people, and so some people are anti-dependent, and they're really allergic to people. And so it is like that, you know, it's like, and so it takes a lot of healing to be able to attach.
Yeah. But the attach is a healthy attachment now. It doesn't feel like I'm the desperation.
Attachment just is a secure feeling where you don't feel like you're going to lose yourself in relationship to another self.
Yes, and that's where, and we've been in that. Okay.
So that's a good thing, because if I said attach and other people think that's bad. So there's dependent childhood. There's there can be anti-dependent adolescence, but ultimately healthy is interdependent, where you can ask for your needs and wants to be met, and then people can decide whether they can help or not.
Yep, and that for me that has not been an option throughout my life, and now it is, and I'm grateful. So what was the next thing you wanted to jump to?
It was so much fun like connecting her to people in my network, and so the fourth line, and to see her excited, or to make a connection, you know, like they were like, it was happening yesterday, you know, they were looking at each other, and I'm just like, this is so fun, you know, because, you know, to connect her with people that I already know, or that she gets to have a different relationship with, because she's different and I'm different from her. And so, and I didn't even know these things were going to occur. I mean, I might have this intuition like, ooh, I think this person you need to meet, because you're asking me questions I don't know the answers to. And so I'm like, I know the person who can answer those questions. And then I'm like, oh, thank goodness you can answer that question. You can ask this question, and you guys can do this, and I'm just watching now. And it's like,
undefined head relief again.
You know, like, oh my gosh, I don't know that answer, and I can't pretend to know that answer. And so it's my experiment to not give an answer to something that isn't my question.
So that's been the tricky part. in this, because I think the hardest part for us is the defined and the undefined head, more so even than the conditioning or the trauma or, well, that too. I mean, that kind of goes in with the defined head too, because I've had a challenge with,
I don't think they're the same.
I have a sixth line, and because my sixth line is a role model, I'm also an observer. So I'm like, how does that work? If I'm a role model, aren't people supposed to be watching me? Why am I observing? But I kind of walked through that, and it became, hopefully this is a good answer, but it kind of became me observing systems and situations and people, and I think that's also got into the undefined space over on Valerie's side. But trying to observe things, because she's not interested. Like I love looking at everything. Like I'll see a baby on the side of the road, somebody's walking, or a dog, or whatever, and she's like, and that's fine because that's how she's designed, and I'm designed to observe, So that kind of gave us some things to play around with and work with to work through, to figure things out, because I didn't even understand that, because I kept trying to figure out as a role model, how is it that people are going to see me? Because if I'm not being observed, then I'm just kind of flailing out in la la land, just hanging out and watching things happen, and nobody's watching me. So I'm like, wait, no, that's not really true. So my discovery was, as an observation, as I observe my life happening around me, inside, outside of me, I share that. And the sharing becomes the role modeling. And that made sense to me up here. So, I mean, I don't know where, I had no idea where this was going to go, how it was going to go. And I feel like it's shifted, for me, it's shifted all kinds of stuff. So as I leave Colorado, I don't know what's coming, but I'm not afraid of it anymore. I used to have a fear of the unknown, and learning between, the human design thing and my own healing process, and healing with her, with Valerie, through her healing process, and understanding how her world works in conjunction with mine or not, was very helpful to me to see things about myself that I wasn't aware of. So real quick, I'm going to bring this up, and you can jump in if you want about to explain it. But it's like when we grow up in a family system, that's all we know. It's like a cocoon. We see how all this stuff is happening in front of us, or to us, or whatever. And being in there, we don't know what's on the outside of that door, the house that we live in. And so when we come outside of it, we look at, when we experience or run into things with other people, we're coming from our own perspective of where we've grown up. And it's like this, because we're like, no, I'm right. And no, I'm right. And it's like, no, neither one of us are right. It's just our perspective. And so coming through that and understanding and being able to learn how to be compassionate and empathetic with people, because they're also going through something. And they have that saying, walk in a man's moccasins or shoes. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, if you've never experienced what someone else has experienced, you don't know what that feels like. And if you get to work with someone through an experience, then you get a bit, a perceptive experience of what that feels like. We call that
in counseling a felt sense.
God. There you go.
We get to feel, what it feels like in a holistic whole person, because you experience it. Like I teach the body, right? The body, soul, mind, and spirit. And so when you do it in relationship, it's like you get an opportunity to transmute it. And yeah.
Can you explain what transmute? Because I don't know.
So to me, transmute means taking something that's been a wound and making it into the gold in the fixed pottery.
So, I like that, because my favorite comparison is kintsugi, which is Japanese, which they take a broken bowl, and they put it back together with gold. And that's what it feels like in the heart with that.
Well, I believe part of the reason that I'm effective in my work is because I've been working on myself. And it's been longer than I've been doing this, my second career. And so it's really, it's me being with them in a space that maybe they've never felt with before, and they haven't felt welcomed in their own experience in a deep way in their body, mind, soul, and spirit.
I want to give an example of that really quick. For some of you may have heard this story. When I was visiting my mother in New Mexico like 6 years ago or whatever, I had learned something called A's to B's in a personal development course, and basically what that is just looking deeply into someone's eyes and giving them unconditional love, just sharing the energy of love. And when I went to see her, I was under the impression that she was not going to live very much past when I was with her, and she ended up hanging around for like 2 years after that. But her chaplain was in the room with us, sitting there. And I did that with her, and she kept looking at me and giving me this weird look, and I'm like, I just kept looking at her and loving her, and just being there, whatever, just being present with her. And my mother had an accent, so she kept going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing?" That's what that is, because she was a second generation Holocaust survivor. Plenty of PTSD in her life. Something happened to her aside from the World War II, whatever was going on when they were in Czechoslovakia. Something happened to her. I don't know what that is. I never knew. But she was so split, the right word to use? She was so split apart that she didn't even know what love looked like. And when I was doing that, so the chaplain, that's the reason I brought her up, chimed in and she said, "She's just loving you." And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. But I'd done some forgiveness work on her at that point, but I hadn't like really healed more like I am at this point. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life. And at that time. And, so I think that kind of gives an example. If you've never had that experience of love, how do you even connect with it, until you've broken through into your heart and broken the bowl, shattered through the illusions, doing all this work and finding that love within self and then being able to see it within somebody else, so.
It's like taking something that you experienced and using it as a superpower of connection and grace.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes. That's it. And that for me, I like how you said that, because for me, that's what it feels like to be doing this podcast, to role model that after walking through my own and understanding others and, doing my best. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but learning the process of love. So.
Yeah, and I want to say that I think love is like allowing you to be you and me to be me and staying in relationship connection.
Yeah, rather than wanting to choke the other person because you want to be right.
I mean,
I've been there before.
You can go there.
I don't want to go there. I don't want to hurt. I don't want to choke you.
Well, in the definition of love, you went there.
Oh, right.
But that's maybe to give people the I don't know, the experience of what it's not.
Yeah, because we all know what it's. Well, we don't. That's an intro. Hold on. We don't cognitively know what it's not, but we behave like we know what it's not, and we don't know how to not know that until we heal.
We behave the way we've created our neural pathways through our childhood development and our epigenetic trauma,
experience and
teachings, our own birth and pre-birth trauma, and we think that's our personality. I'm just saying, So there's
No, well, that's not. It is, but it's not.
There's a
who we
lot
are.
there.
It's not who we truly are. That's what I want to say.
well, and that's what we're both here to help people with,
Yes. Yeah.
is to understand who they really deeply are and not what they had to do to survive.
Right. And the depth of this goes into like the whole reason I'm doing the Inner Peace Pilgrimage. What's inside of who we really are is peace, joy, contentment, calm, that's who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be connected with other human beings in a healthy way and not so, angry and obsessed with being angry at other people. It's like, I learned to look at my own backyard first because I started to discover that I was the one who was coming to the table through every relationship that I had. That was me, so however the other showed up was a reflection of me. So,
well, until we've cleaned up the slime of our relationships and our history,
yeah,
we're going into our future with the slime like cords holding us back.
That's right.
And so we just want to be free and live our truth and live the wholeness of who we are and our uniqueness. And sometimes there's been an imprint, like one of those cookie imprints, a cookie press on our life when things have happened that we make immature decisions about that run the rest of our lives.
And just to clarify, sometimes when you say immature decisions, sometimes these cookie cutter things get stamped in when we're kids and we don't know we're making immature decisions. It's just locked in our system at that point,
and we don't know
just
they're
kinda run it.
operating
Yeah,
because it
it's
was so
subconscious.
simple. When something happened to me at 8, I might have decided I can do it all myself. I'm going to do everything myself. I have to do everything myself. Whatever the little decision or belief was that we created with an immature nervous system.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
That.
Okay.
She said. So anyway, was there anything else we
No.
wanted to cover? I think we went through quite a bit. But thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of this. I don't know what's coming next. I know, I'm leaving tomorrow. I'll share another video on my ride as I'm driving, which people seem to really like those. So stay tuned and let's see what happens on that one. But thank you.
And also, can I say reach out if you have questions for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
There might be some stuff that you're like, what was she talking about?
Yeah.
There? Or like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
So, I'd encourage you to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're both, if something registers or resonates with you, we're here. And I really can't think of anything else to say because I think my head's on overload mode, which it does. So again, just want to thank you for being here. Have a great moment wherever you are. And that's about it. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.